Hi everyone, my name is Celin Gelgec. I am a clinical psychologist and coming to you from Melbourne Wellbeing Group to do our very first vlog. So welcome. Today we're going to be talking about something that is very dear to our hearts, and it's to help in the promotion of Wear Red for Heart Research Day, which is on the 14th of February, which is coming up in a couple of weeks if I'm not wrong, which ironically is Valentine's Day. And so what we would like to do in this video today is just share a little bit of information on something that I absolutely love talking about, which is how to manage stress, because we know that stress is something that we all face, doesn't matter how old we are, every single day, and it's something that also has a pretty profound effect on our heart. And if we aren't looking after our heart, then there's not too much that we can do with life. If we don't have our health, we can't do much else. So in order to promote heart health, we're going to be talking about how to look after your mental health in order to help heart health, because we know that there are loads that you can do physically in order to help with your heart, but the National Heart Foundation also shows that there is so much more that you can do for your mental health in order to look after your health as well, and especially your heart, because our levels of stress are elevated, then it's not going to do too well for our heart health as well. So today I'm going to be talking about how to manage stress, and one tool in particular, which if you've been a client of mine before or you're currently a client of mine, you'll know that I talk about this all the time and you're probably sick of me talking about it, but it talks about the stress bucket. And so something that I wanted to talk about and share with you guys, because it's a really quick and easy thing to share with you, is how to manage your stress through a technique called self-monitoring. And in order to help self-monitor, we use an analogy of the stress bucket, and I'm going to use the whiteboard behind me here to help me do that. Okay, so excuse me if I have my back to you, but so I mean, we all have a limit when it comes to stress. The same as a bucket. What a bucket does is it has a limit of how much water it can hold, obviously, and we can only take so much as human beings, and when we reach our peak, we overflow, and our overflow can look like anything from having a panic attack to sitting and crying and eating a bowl of peppermint ice cream, or it can look to having really strong anger outbursts all the time that are uncontrollable. It can lead to loads of different things, and I'm sure that you all are aware of what your bucket looks like when it's overflowed, and so it's one thing to be aware of the end point, but how do we kind of monitor it and do what we can to prevent from getting there in the first place? How can we best manage and look after our stress? So we all know, like I said, we all know what it looks like once we get up to here, but what is it that fills our bucket? So loads of things can fill our buckets, and some of those things can be financial pressure, other of those things can be pressure from work, it can be things to do with children or other family members, your partner, it could be pressure that you're putting on your own self. Anything can lead to stress, and it could pretty much add a layer in your stress bucket. So if we've got pressure that you're putting on your own self, attributing that much, maybe financial pressure, attributing a little bit more. Then if we've got workplace stress or study or anything like that, depending on where you're at in life, can add a little bit more. And the more things that happen, you might have an argument with a loved one, that could be another one. It might be that your friend hasn't texted you back, or that person that you were waiting for a response from, or those test results haven't come back. And so if we keep going along and we're not really paying attention to our stress levels rising and rising and rising, or the water in our bucket rising and rising and rising, then before we know it, we're near the top. And then when we're getting close to the top and our bucket's about to overflow, it doesn't take much to push it over the edge. So let's just say, for argument's sake, you've had a really stressful morning and you finally made it to work, and you've entered in and you know that you're feeling a little bit frazzled, and then all of a sudden a co-worker comes over and they've asked you to do something, and that's it. So and your bucket has overflowed. So basically what's happened is you've entered that situation in a baseline with your baseline already higher than what it would normally be. And when our baseline is higher than what it would normally be, then it doesn't take much for that bucket to overflow. So what we want to do using this self-monitoring technique is to really sporadically check in with ourselves throughout the day, just to see where our levels of stress are in that moment. And all that takes is just a self-coping statement by asking yourself, where exactly are my levels of stress in this moment? Right here, right now. And you can use any level. Most people just use 10 because it's nice and easy. 10 being overflowing, right up here. 5 being in the middle. And then 0 being down there. Totally cool, calm and relaxed. And so let's just do that together for a moment. Asking yourself, in this moment, where are your levels of stress? Mine would probably be between a 5 and a 6 because I'm doing this vlog and it's my first time. So I've got some nerves happening, and it would be interesting just to check in with your own self and ask yourself, where are my levels of stress right here and right now? Got it? Okay. So what we would do next with that information, and this is just an arbitrary rule of thumb, so to speak, and it's something that I know a lot of my clients have found really useful. And usually what we say is the cutoff is kind of 5, say. And we say 5 because if you're already halfway and you enter into a stressful situation, it's not going to take much to get to a 7 or an 8 or a 9 out of 10 level of distress. But if you're below a 5, it's going to be a lot easier to handle that distress, and it's also going to be a lot easier to keep bringing that down. So if you sporadically check in with yourself and ask, where are my levels of stress right now? If they're greater than or equal to 5, roughly, then the advice would be to try and engage in a stress reduction activity. Doesn't matter what that is, as long as it's helpful, to help bring that down a little bit so that you can keep going and keep taking more on throughout the day. If your stress levels are less than 5, awesome, keep going. And so with that in mind, using that self-monitoring technique, you can a lot more easily stay on top of things and keep doing more throughout the day, and you can tackle a lot more things with a clearer mind. If we can keep our stress levels low, and if we can keep our anxiety low-ish, then we know that our mind is going to be a lot clearer. We're going to make decisions more effectively, and we're going to be able to respond to situations rather than be reactive. We're also going to be in our 10 zone a lot less often, which wouldn't that be great if we could all do that? So I hope that you found that really useful, and stay tuned as we will hopefully be able to post a lot more vlogs. And if you have any topics of interest or would like to know any more information about anything else, please leave some comments for us and some feedback, and we will be sure to follow up with those and get them to you as soon as we can. With that in mind, hope to see you guys in our next vlog. Thank you.